You stare at your screen analyzing a simple message, feeling a heavy knot of anxiety form in your stomach. Emotional manipulation does not happen because of a lack of intelligence. It happens when communication is ignored. Language shapes emotion, and emotion shapes attachment before logic even speaks. You're burning your energy trying to decode silence and vague promises, convincing yourself that your patience will eventually be rewarded. The brutal reality is that your empathy is being weaponized against you. He is carefully selecting language that keeps you waiting, hoping, and available while requiring absolutely zero accountability from his side. The word busy is rarely an accurate description of a man's schedule. It reveals his true priority. When he repeatedly tells you how busy he is measuring your tolerance. He wants to see exactly how long you will remain completely available to him with minimal effort returned. It is a calculated boundary push dressed up as a logistical excuse. He is not asking for your deep understanding. He is explicitly testing the absolute limits of your self-respect. Every time you accept this excuse without consequence, your brain starts to romanticize his minimal effort. You begin to view his rare moments of attention as high-value rewards simply because they are scarce. Your brain reads effort where absolutely none exists. This conditioning creates a trauma bond where you endure long periods of emotional starvation just to get a tiny glimpse of the affection you crave. You're training him to treat you as an option while you treat him as an absolute priority. The immediate correction is to stop requesting explanations and start matching his energy. You must reduce your availability instead of demanding answers. When his access to you is no longer guaranteed, the excuse of being busy suddenly becomes remarkably flexible. Do not wait around for his schedule to magically clear up. Fill your own time with your own life. When you remove your attention, he will either step up and make concrete plans, or he will fade away. Both outcomes protect your deep value. The word maybe sounds like a polite negotiation, but it creates deep emotional suspense. It is a psychological cage that keeps access open while ensuring commitment stays undefined and entirely optional. When he uses this word, he is securing your future availability without investing any present effort. He gets to explore his options without any pressure or accountability while you wait for clarity. You're left paralyzed, unable to make your own plans because you're waiting for his verdict. Waiting in this state of suspension is profoundly damaging to your nervous system. Living in the undefined keeps you in a constant state of low-level anxiety. Waiting without direction signals your complete acceptance of uncertainty. It communicates to him that your time has absolutely no inherent value. You are willingly handing over the steering wheel of your life to someone who will not even commit to a simple schedule, sacrificing your peace for his absolute convenience. You must radically reframe your internal response to indecision. The correction is calm certainty. You must treat maybe as a no in practice. If he cannot offer you a clear, definitive answer, you immediately assume the plan is not happening and move forward. When your time keeps moving, his indecision loses all of its power. He will be forced to either become entirely clear about his intentions or remove himself completely. Both outcomes protect your standards. Being called a friend after a period of intense emotional closeness is often just a comfortable rebrand. This allows him to maintain full access to your emotional labor without bearing any of the responsibilities of a true partnership. He gets to keep all the benefits of your deep empathy while explicitly removing the expectation of loyalty. It is the ultimate extraction tactic, designed to keep you investing heavily while he offers nothing but confusion in return. This dynamic creates an agonizing imbalance that survives only when boundaries remain entirely undefined. You continue to listen deeply and support his goals, secretly hoping that your undeniable value will eventually change his mind. Instead, you're exhausted. You're essentially doing the heavy lifting of a relationship for a man who has explicitly told you he is not your partner. You're sacrificing your own mental stability to keep a man comfortable in his dysfunction. The realignment requires absolute withdrawal of your romantic and emotional labor without drama or resentment. You simply stop performing the duties of a dedicated partner for a man who explicitly calls you a friend. When your availability sharply shifts, he will reassess your role immediately. His true intention will either surface in the form of actual pursuit or it will disappear completely. Both outcomes instantly restore your clarity and your power. The word soon is a dangerous illusion that feels hopeful but completely delays reality. It attaches your deep emotions to a future version of his effort that never actually arrives today. By promising future rewards, he keeps you tolerating his present neglect without complaint. It is a calculated linguistic placeholder that prevents you from realizing that he has no true intention of taking immediate action. It is the carrot dangled perfectly out of reach. Living on the promise of this future faking keeps you permanently trapped in potential rather than reality. You fall deeply in love with what the relationship could be tomorrow, entirely ignoring the painful neglect you are experiencing right now. This deliberate tactic drains your life force. You spend months waiting for a magical shift in his behavior, sacrificing your present happiness. Genuine interest creates concrete plans, not vague timelines floating endlessly ahead of you. You must aggressively stop accepting future promises as a valid substitute for present action. When you demand reality today, the absolute truth of his intentions will instantly appear. Look strictly at what he is doing right in front of you. When you refuse to be pacified by his words, he is forced to step forward with specifics or step away entirely. Your standard must be present reality and immediate action, absolutely nothing less. Manipulation rarely looks dramatic. It hides in ordinary conversations and gentle tones. Psychologists refer to this subtle control as linguistic framing. When a man controls the wording of a dynamic, his meaning directs your emotion before your awareness can even catch up. He frames his lack of effort as your need for patience. It is never just about what he says, it is entirely about what his carefully chosen words make you willingly accept. This subtle control mechanism is incredibly insidious because it completely bypasses your natural defenses. You do not feel attacked, so you do not fight back. Instead, you find yourself constantly adjusting your own boundaries to accommodate his carefully framed narratives. You start believing that demanding basic respect is somehow unreasonable. The repetition of these framing words slowly erodes your self-trust, leaving you constantly questioning your own valid emotional reactions. To break this manipulative spell, you must entirely separate his tone from his actual content. It does not matter how gently he speaks if his words consistently result in your basic needs being ignored. You have to start listening for patterns of repetition instead of buying into his endless excuses. When you analyze his language objectively, completely stripping away the emotional filter he tries to impose, the manipulation becomes glaringly obvious. Your logic must govern your attachments. Inconsistent attention creates a much stronger attachment than consistent care ever will. When his effort is entirely unpredictable, your brain becomes addicted to the cycle of starvation and reward. You start reading massive effort into tiny gestures where none truly exists. This conditioning ensures that you remain perpetually hungry, always waiting for the next breadcrumb of his validation. It is the most powerful psychological hook ever designed to keep you trapped. This intermittent reinforcement completely hijacks your nervous system. You lose your baseline of peace. Your entire mood becomes dependent on whether or not his name appears on your phone screen. You stop evaluating whether he is actually good for you, and instead become obsessed with solving the puzzle of his constant distance. This cycle chemically binds you to a toxic dynamic, making it feel absolutely impossible to walk away, even when you know you're suffering daily. The absolute only way to break this cycle is to fundamentally refuse to participate in the game. You must aggressively detach your self-worth from his entirely unpredictable behavior. Recognize clearly that his inconsistency is not a reflection of your true value, but a direct reflection of his manipulative intent. When you step back and observe the pattern coldly, you reclaim your leverage. You must choose absolute consistency over the chaotic, draining high of unpredictable attention. Your capacity for deep empathy is your greatest strength. But in the hands of a manipulative man, it becomes your absolute greatest vulnerability. He relies on your willingness to understand his complicated life. He uses your empathy as an impenetrable shield to deflect all accountability for his poor behavior. As long as you're busy analyzing his pain and making excuses for his actions, you're completely distracted from the glaring fact that he is intentionally mistreating you. This dynamic forces you into the exhausting role of a savior, completely erasing your identity as an equal partner. You pour your energy into healing him, hoping that once he is fixed, he will finally love you the way you deeply desire. But this is a bottomless pit. Your emotional reserves are drained daily, leaving you hollow and utterly unappreciated. You're sacrificing your own mental stability to keep a parasite incredibly comfortable in his own dysfunction. You must strictly and ruthlessly deploy your empathy with ironclad boundaries. Understanding exactly why someone acts poorly does not mean you ever have to tolerate the destructive impact of those actions on your own life. You are not a free rehabilitation center for emotionally broken men. Redirect that fierce empathy entirely toward yourself. When you demand that your empathy be earned through mutual effort and consistent action, the manipulators will quickly fall away from your life. When you realize you're being played, your instinct is to argue, but emotional reactions reduce your leverage, whereas calm observation restores your power. Power is rarely about what you say back. It is about what you absolutely refuse to keep tolerating. Explaining to a man how he is hurting you gives him exactly what he wants, proof that he controls your emotional state. Respect grows the exact second your self-control replaces your desperate chasing. Chasing explanations from a man who uses manipulative language is a completely useless endeavor. He will simply spin more words and leave you feeling even more confused than before. Your desire for closure keeps you trapped in the very conversation that is destroying your confidence. Every time you engage in these circular arguments, you signal that you're still willing to negotiate your standards. You're handing him the blueprint to keep extracting your energy for absolutely free. When vague effort no longer receives access, behavior adjusts quickly. The man who gave minimum effort suddenly notices you are distant, not because you argued, but because your energy is no longer free. That is exactly when uncertainty transforms into pursuit. You must embrace the profound silence of walking away. Let him choke on the realization that your standards are immovable. You hold the ultimate leverage when you simply stop participating in his games. Emotional balance returns when you choose clarity over excuses. You're no longer available for linguistic traps, future faking, or the exhausting game of decoding breadcrumbs. Stop chasing explanations and start protecting your standards. When you withdraw your free energy and demand reality today, the fog of confusion permanently fades and real effort becomes absolutely obvious. You hold the key to your own access? If this reflection helped you see the invisible chains holding you back, subscribe to the channel.